In the previous section, what we did was used a patch file in order to upgrade Drupal from one minor version to another. In this one, we're going to take a look at the upgrade text file in the Drupal base directory and explore how it says we should upgrade. And then we're going to use a slightly different method, but that achieves the same thing. So if we go to our base Drupal site and we open up the upgrade.txt file, let's go ahead and scroll down. And here we have minor version updates. So the first part is moving the site into maintenance mode. Now this is when we're dealing with a production site. And then it says to remove all old core files and directories. So this is everything that came with Drupal by default, except we leave the sites directory, which includes all of our modules and all of our themes. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. And then it says to download the latest Drupal release and untar it, and then copy all the files back to your Drupal site directory. Any changes that you've made to core files like the htaccess file or the robots text file, you should reapply, and then you run update.php in order to upgrade the database. So now what we're going to do is simply skip the step where we remove all of the old files, and we'll actually copy the files over into the root directory, overriding what's there already. And by doing this, we'll leave behind any files that we've added to our folder. Now in previous videos, if we jump back and take a look, we have several files that are new to this folder. Our Git folder where our repository information lives. We have a project folder for our IDE. We have our assets folder for our database dumps and other resources. And so we actually have quite a bit to keep an eye out for when we delete the core files. By removing the process of deleting those files, we reduce the number of steps quite a bit. Now the downside to this is that if there were any files that were deleted in this version, for example, there were some files that had security holes that were renamed or removed in this updated version of Drupal, those will still hang around. But those kind of modifications are actually fairly rare. So let's begin by downloading the latest version of Drupal. So I'm going to go to the Drupal homepage and click Get Started with Drupal and download the latest version of Drupal. And then I'm going to download the tar file. Now I'm going to expand the 7.8 tarball, and I'm going to copy this directory over to the root of my websites folder. So I'm actually going to go up one level above my Drupal site, and I'm going to paste it in. Now again, there's two things we should have done already before getting to this point, which was copying our Drupal codebase and copying our database. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my codebase right now. So I have a quick copy. Now I'm going to jump to the command line. And I'm going to navigate up one level from my Drupal root directory, so cd .. And that takes me to the root directory for my websites folder. So now if I do a list, you'll see a list of all of my websites. Now the command we're going to use is the copy command. And we're passing the R parameter to make this recursive, so it drills down into multiple levels of folders. And we're grabbing everything from within the Drupal-7.8 folder. Now that's the latest version of Drupal that we just expanded. And we're also specifying the htaccess file within that folder. Now by default, none of the hidden files will get copied over in this process. So the .htaccess file and the .getignore file won't be moved over. What this command says is that we do want to bring over htaccess, but because the .getignore file isn't specified here, it won't get moved over, so we'll have the old version. And then we're specifying where we want to put these files, which is in the loc.gitsite.com folder, which is the root directory of our Drupal site. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And now if we go ahead and navigate back into our Drupal site and do a git status, we should see, because of our previous commit of changes with the patch file, that there's nothing to commit. And sure enough, everything looks good to go. Now, if we had done this before we ran the patch, we'd see a whole set of changes between version 7.7 and 7.8. And if we go back to our folder, I'm going to jump back to our root directory here, you'll see that we still have our assets folder and our Git folder. So we retained all of the files that were outside of the Drupal core domain, even though we copied over all of the new files.